100 million people are inside today's severe weather risk zone. This is a full-day event. Beryl is at 120 miles per hour with a merged double eyewall, and the Gulf of Mexico is directly next. And by this weekend, models are showing 6,000 joules per kilogram of atmospheric energy, an absolutely absurd number. 3 waves of severe weather are lined up back-to-back today, Tuesday, and this weekend. Every single one of these threats is real, and the full picture right now demands your attention. Let's start with the day. Right now, we have 3 separate slight risk of severe weather active. A large slight risk stretches from New York City all the way back down to Jackson, Mississippi today. A second slight risk runs Dallas to Little Rock, and a third sits across the high plains today. A giant level 1 marginal risk wraps this all together from Billings, Montana back into New York City. The primary threat today is damaging wind gusts reaching up to 70 miles per hour, widespread and persistent. This is not a 2-hour storm. This is a full 12 to 24-hour severe weather day today. If you live near Lamar, Amarillo, Denver, or Rapid City, baseball-sized hail is possible this afternoon. Pocket change-sized hail is also on the table if you live near Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, or Richmond today. There are 3 separate tornado risks in place, and all 3 affect highly populated areas today. Tell me your city in the comments. We'll give you the most specific update for your area. The massive warm sector driving today's tornado risk stretches from Texas all the way to New England. That warm sector allows these storms to access enormous amounts of energy and become quickly severe. In the mid-Atlantic, storms develop just after lunchtime, producing downburst winds and some large hail. There may be an isolated spin-up tornado or two, especially as storms approach Washington, D.C. The highest tornado threat for Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia runs from 4 p.m. through about 8 p.m. today. After 8 p.m., most storms weaken and move offshore. Some gusty winds linger in Virginia and North Carolina. Down in Dixie Alley, an isolated tornado or two is possible across Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and southern Tennessee. The main tornado window near Nashville runs from 3 p.m. through about 10 p.m. tonight. Damaging winds will be the primary concern in Dixie Alley, though the tornado risk is low to conditional. Across the high plains, several discrete supercells will fire between 5 and 7 p.m. today near the mountains. Stay on high alert if you live near Gordon or Lamar, damaging winds and large hail this evening. Some storms will continue through the overnight hours and into early Tuesday morning across the southern states. Comment your city below if you're in Kansas, Oklahoma, or the Mid-South. Will get you a specific update. 3 separate tornado risks today alone is not a typical Monday. This is an extraordinarily active pattern. June is normally considered the beginning of summer calm, but this June is anything but calm, folks. The wave of severe weather we have been watching build for weeks is now fully active nationwide. Now let's get to Tuesday, and this is where I really want your attention right now. A much more potent storm system is developing across the Central Plains for Tuesday evening. A large slight risk stretches from Denver and Fort Collins back toward Wichita for Tuesday. The HR model is showing 80 to 100 miles per hour wind gusts near Wichita on Tuesday evening. Very concerning. 80 to 100 miles per hour straight line winds is hurricane force in the middle of Kansas on a Tuesday night. Winds like that from an MCS will drop power lines across wide areas and cause major structural damage. We likely already saw something like this with last night's storm, and Tuesday could bring a repeat. Another large MCS is possible from Kansas through Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Fayetteville, and into Springfield on Tuesday. We will, very likely, see an enhanced risk upgrade for Tuesday's damaging wind threat before the day arrives. Some isolated hailstorms are also possible near Minneapolis during Tuesday afternoon before the main event. A marginal risk covers Fargo and Sioux Falls on Tuesday. Watch for gusty wind and hail. That Tuesday night storm lying into early Wednesday could rival some of the season's biggest MCS events. Wednesday stays active but lower risk. Wisconsin and Minneapolis see isolated activity from the same system. High plains storms develop along the Rockies on Wednesday with some damaging winds and an isolated spin-up tornado. Thursday basically mirrors Wednesday. Same area. Similar risks. but still enough to demand your attention. Power outages are likely in areas hit by today's and Tuesday's strongest storms. Have flashlights and water ready. An interior room on the lowest floor, away from windows, is your safest option during any tornado warning. If you're outdoors today, anywhere in the severe weather zone, know your shelter location before storms develop. NOAA Weather Radio is your most important backup when severe weather knocks out cell service in your area. Now let's shift to Beryl. Its track puts it squarely in a danger zone for the Gulf Coast. Beryl is currently a Category 3 major hurricane sweeping through the eastern and central Caribbean at 120 miles per hour. The double eyewall has now merged, and that means Beryl's destructive wind field has expanded significantly. Beryl's merged double eyewall has expanded its hurricane force wind radius significantly compared to 24 hours ago. A larger wind radius means more coastal communities will experience hurricane force conditions at landfall. By tomorrow, Beryl will be approaching the Yucatan Peninsula and entering the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico right now has water temperatures at record levels, and that is Beryl's fuel source. Record warm water, low shear, and high humidity over the Gulf, Beryl's 3-ingredient perfect intensification recipe. Record warm Gulf water means Beryl will have everything it needs to maintain or even increase its strength. Beryl's Yucatan path and Gulf of Mexico track leaves very little chance for significant land weakening. The most dangerous Gulf of Mexico forecast element right now is the lack of any natural inhibitor for Beryl. Every weather model is already raising early alerts for the Texas and Louisiana coastlines heading into this weekend. Beryl is not a storm you track casually. This requires your full and immediate attention. This week, prepare for Beryl right now, not when a watch is issued, and not when a warning is posted. Once a warning posts, most people are already behind on their preparations. The smart move is acting now. Houston, New Orleans, Tampa, and Miami. Every one of you needs Beryl's NH City Advisory open right now. The National Hurricane Center is issuing advisories every 6 hours. Check every single one this week. Your Beryl preparation checklist: water, medications, important documents, fuel in the car, evacuation route confirmed. Tell me your Gulf Coast city in the comments. We are tracking Beryl's path hour by hour. Now let's talk about what is happening with the heat, because the story is changing significantly today. A cold trough from Canada has broken into New England and the upper Midwest. Relief is finally there. Boston and New York are dropping from near 100 degrees to a much more comfortable 75 to 80. But here's the catch. All that heat is not disappearing. It's being pushed south and southwest. The Mid-South, Texas, and the Southeast are heading toward heat index values of 110 to 115 degrees. A heat index of 115 degrees is the extreme end, genuinely dangerous for everyone outdoors. Death Valley and Arizona remain above 110 degrees, while wildfire crews continue battling active blazes out west. The cold trough breaking into New England is what pushes that dangerous heat into the south right now. Check on elderly neighbors in the heat zone. Heat illness can turn deadly within a few hours. A brand new cold front is clashing with the heated southern air, and that collision is producing supercells. Along the Ohio Valley and into Arkansas and Oklahoma, supercells are erupting with tennis ball-sized hail. Straight-line winds from these supercells are also capable of taking down power lines and trees across the area. By tomorrow, this cold front sweeps through the Carolinas and mid-Atlantic, bringing microburst wind threats. Heavy rain dumping on superheated dry ground creates instant runoff. Flash flooding becomes a major concern. When cold air collides with extremely hot air along a front, the boundary becomes a flash flooding zone. That is exactly what is happening along the Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic corridor heading into tomorrow. The NWS is specifically warning about urban flash flooding across the Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic heading into tomorrow. Turn around, don't drown. Just 6 inches of fast water can knock a full-grown person off their feet. Now here is the part of the forecast that has my attention more than anything else this weekend. A massive surge of unstable air is building and heading toward the northern and central plains this weekend. Saturday is when some severe weather potential begins across the northern and central plains. This gets going. But Sunday is the day to watch most closely, and the numbers about to be shared are serious. By Sunday, we are going to have a boatload of instability stretching from Kansas City up toward Bismarck. This is where the most favorable wind profiles for tornadic activity will be concentrated this weekend. And the number being thrown around for Sunday's instability is 6,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE. 6,000 joules per kilogram, that number 7 days out is, in the words of forecasters, absolutely absurd. For context, the recent Midwest outbreaks were producing 4,000 to 4,500 joules per kilogram of CAPE. 6,000 is a level above that, meaning Sunday has outbreak potential if the setup comes together. Sunday's CAPE values are not just high, they are unprecedented for this time of year in the plains. Even if storm coverage is limited Sunday, any discrete supercell in that environment is immediately dangerous. What needs to happen is a Pacific Northwest low-pressure system arriving by late Saturday into Sunday. When that low pressure aligns with the strong low-level jet on Sunday, the severe weather potential explodes. Strong low-level winds combined with intense upper-level winds on Sunday is exactly what produces significant tornado outbreaks. This could be a very big deal by next Sunday. There is still a lot to iron out. The European model shows a potential Friday Ohio Valley tornado risk from a small, weak, low-pressure system. Monday's threat in the Midwest grows substantially if the Pacific Northwest low tracks 100 miles further east. The Beryl story for the Gulf Coast and Sunday's outbreak potential both require equal attention this week. Stay engaged with the forecast this week. Every 24 hours brings new data that will sharpen the picture. The pattern driving all of this shows no clear signs of slowing before the end of the month. New York City spin up tornado risk this afternoon. Pocket change hail. Damaging winds main threat today. Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia tornado threat 4 to 8 p.m. Pocket change hail. 70 miles per hour wind gust. Richmond and Virginia today is active, but after 8 p.m. conditions improve. Some isolated gusty winds linger. Nashville tornado window runs 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight with damaging straight-line winds as the primary concern. Jackson, Mississippi tonight brings continued storm activity with damaging winds and a low tornado potential. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and southern Tennessee isolated tornadoes and damaging winds today and tonight. Lamar and Amarillo baseball-sized hail this afternoon is a very real possibility across the high plains. Denver and Rapid City large to very large hail is possible from the upslope supercells this afternoon. Wichita and Oklahoma City Tuesday is your biggest concern with an 80 to 100 miles per hour MCS threat developing. Tulsa, Fayetteville, and Springfield. Tuesday's big line of thunderstorms could arrive late at night your way. Kansas City watch Tuesday evening closely as a large storm line with 70 to 100 miles per hour winds develops. Minneapolis hailstorms Tuesday afternoon. Then keep an eye out for Sunday's potential outbreak conditions. Fargo and Sioux Falls marginal risk Tuesday with hail and gusty winds. Then the big weekend setup arrives. Houston, Texas. You need to be tracking Beryl every single day this week without exception. New Orleans, Louisiana Beryl's track continues to target your area as a potential impact zone this weekend. Tampa and Miami, you are in Beryl's extended planning zone. Follow every NHC advisory as the week progresses. Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, heat index 110 to 115 degrees is dangerous on top of today's storm risk. Charlotte and Raleigh, tomorrow's cold front brings microbursts and flash flooding potential to your region. Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic residents tomorrow have your shelter location and flood plan ready to go. If your city isn't on this list, comment below and we'll get you a specific weather update. A battery-powered or hand-crank weather radio will keep you informed even when everything else goes dark. Being prepared before a storm gives you options. Being unprepared means you have whatever comes. Never drive through a flooded road. Moving water is almost always faster and deeper than it looks. If you're in the Central Plains or Midwest, now is the time to review your severe weather plan. Share this with family and friends who may not be tracking the weather today. They need to know. Let's bring everything together. The big picture over the next 10 days is genuinely extraordinary. 100 million people are in today's severe weather zone, the largest single-day coverage in weeks. Beryl, at 120 miles per hour with a merged double eyewall, is heading toward record-warm Gulf of Mexico water. And by Sunday, the atmosphere could be packing 6,000 joules per kilogram of energy outbreak territory. 3 separate threats today, Tuesday, and the weekend with no clear end to this active pattern. Make sure all your weather alerts are active and your shelter location is identified before any storm arrives. Have multiple ways to receive weather alerts: phone, NOAA radio, and TV, all active simultaneously. What part of this forecast matters most to where you live? Tell us in the comments right now. Are you in the tornado zone, tracking Beryl from the Gulf, or dealing with the extreme heat today? We'll revisit this tomorrow morning with updated model data on both Beryl and the weekend outbreak setup. Comment your city and let us know what weather situation you're most concerned about heading into this week. The atmosphere over the next 10 days will write headlines, and being ready is how you stay safe. Do not wait for a mandatory evacuation. Leaving early means no traffic, no fuel lines, and full options. Beryl's track into the Gulf will become clearer with each new advisory. Stay plugged into every update. What makes Tuesday's setup particularly dangerous is how quickly that MCS can develop and accelerate southeast. When an MCS reaches 80 to 100 miles per hour, core winds, it becomes nearly impossible to outrun while driving. The overlapping severe weather across multiple states today is a direct result of this unusual June pattern. Stay weather aware, stay connected, and stay safe through one of the most active weeks of this year. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a full update on Beryl's Gulf entry and Tuesday's storm timing. Beryl, today's tornado risks, and the weekend potential combined to make this one of June's biggest weather weeks. 100 million impacted today. 120 miles per hour Beryl entering the Gulf. 6,000 joules per kilogram Sunday. Stay safe. This is one of the most active stretches of severe weather we have tracked this season.